Example number 4. Highlighting learning targets number 1.6c and 1.6d. Solve and justify each step. Hit pause, work through the example, justify each step in the process, and once you finish, hit play and we'll work through it together. So looking at the the equation, and again, we know it's an equation because we have an equal sign. And since I have an equal sign, I know that I'm going to be solving for the variable. Using our order of operations, I know that I need to remove the parentheses first. Working with the distributive property, I'm going to distribute the numbers into the parentheses. And so step number 1, we're going to use the distributive property. So the distributive property, and when I use the distributive property, I'm going to end up with 2 times 4. Remember, we only multiply it by the coefficient. So it's 8x plus 4 equals 15 minus 3x. I'm going to draw the line through the equal sign. Notice that I am keeping my work nice and neat, going directly down in columns. That way I can easily see my terms. I now notice that on the left side that I have an expression on the left side that does not have any like terms. And I also have an expression on the right side that does not have any like terms. So now I need to start moving my terms back and forth across the equal sign in order to get my like terms on the same side. Now I attempt to move in the direction of not working with minus negatives if possible. So in this case, I know that if I move the minus 3x term, the inverse operation of a negative or subtraction is addition. So if I add 3x to the right side, I also know that I must add it to the left side of the equation. Notice that I wrote it directly underneath the minus 3x or negative 3x, and I wrote it also on the left side directly under the positive 8x. I'm keeping my like terms together, grouped together. When I do that, I'm using, in step 2, I'm using the addition property. And because I went on both sides of the equal sign, it's the addition property of equality. And now combining my like terms, 8x plus 3x is 11x, plus 4 equals 15 plus 0, but I do not have to add the 0 in necessarily because of the identity property of addition. Now, I notice that I still do not have all my like terms on one side of the equation. I need to move the negative 4, the positive 4. And the way that I can do that is using the inverse operation of addition, which the inverse operation of addition is subtraction. So I'm going to subtract 4 from the left side. If I subtract 4 from the left side, I must also subtract 4 from the right side of the equation. When I do that, I'm using the subtraction property of equality. And when I simplify that, 4 minus 4 is 0. I end up with 11x. 15 minus 4 is 11. And now I only have one term on each side of the equation. And on the left side of the equation, I have 11 times x. It's an implied multiplication. Well, the inverse operation of multiplication is division. So to undo the operation of multiplication, I'm going to divide by 11. The property that allows me to do that is the division property of equality. And so when I use the division property of equality, 11 divided by 11 is 1x equals 1. And just to show that you can use other properties of real numbers, 1 times x is x, and that is the identity property of multiplication. And so 1 times x is x, and so x is equal to, not x is equal to 1. And so our final step is our solution, and we know it's a solution because there is an equal sign. And so if I were to go back and number my steps, this was step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5, and step 6. So this is solving an equation and justifying each step.